It has been an amazing journey when we talk about India Incorporated, how it has been growing over a period of time. And it is an absolute privilege for us to have somebody who has been part of this journey, who has been instrumental in making many lives go to the distance that we're this time today, and the people who have sincerely made some very important and a very significant difference to the evolution of Indian industry, to the evolution of Indian professionalism is here with us. So it's an absolute privilege for me to welcome Sheetal Kakar Mehra here. Sheetal, thank you so much for taking out time and joining me today.
Thank you. Namaste. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be a part of this series. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking out time and joining us. We would first like to understand what has been the journey for Sheetal as an individual till date.
The journey started in 1999. India looked very different at that time. All the liberalization reforms that were started in the early 90s were bearing fruit, but India still hadn't arrived on the world stage. Of course, in the next 3 to 4 years, I witnessed a big change, which is that Indians started communicating, traveling, negotiating, interacting with people in different parts of the world, which was superb. And this was because of the fact that Indian companies started increasing their global footprint, setting up offices overseas, as well as acquiring units overseas. And of course, multinational companies set up units in India because India was an emerging market, a developing economy. So, a lot of changes, which of course led to the requirement for Indians to upgrade the way they communicate, interact in cross-border communication. So that's where the journey started. And I would say that it's been a very interesting journey. I would like to divide it into three parts. So, part A, of course, was the initial phase where I had to work very hard to convince people that while our academic system is good, but it does not train people on soft skills. So, that was part one. By 2010, India was a mature market and the skill set changed drastically. So, now we needed to focus more on cross cultural skills. We also needed to focus on global best practices, communicating effectively. Come 2020, I think we have firmly arrived on the world stage, and the skills that today Indian leaders need are very different from what they needed 20 years ago. And today, the focus is much more on executive presence, communicating a strong presence on a screen, communicating effectively, creating impact, and of course, your presence, whether face to face or on a screen. So I think that's important. And yes, it's been an interesting journey. I've seen one generation of young managers grow and become CEOs. So, yes.
Amazing. So does that also reflect into the books that you have written, the author behind this, starting from the business etiquette to the executive presence to the poise formula? Does it also sync with this evolution?
The first book was written because I had a column. I used to write a weekly column in Economic Times, and readers would frequently say, "Why don't you write a book?" So that's where the journey started. And yes, the book did become a bestseller, got translated into languages, is there in most of the libraries of all academic institutions globally. It did well. And I would say book one is your transition from a classroom to a cubicle. So it's a must read for all B school students, young professionals. I would even say undergraduates who are looking, and of course, people who are less than 5 years of experience in the workplace. Book two, which is on executive presence, the journey was very different. I wanted to understand the mysterious factor, whether for men or for women leaders. And that's where the journey started. So it was 3 years of research, which got published into a book and has done well. I firmly believe that all the books on our bookshelves, and which of course are available online as well, on this subject were written by foreign authors who had never visited our workplaces or had minimal interaction. But my 2 decades of experience with leaders across industry, across segment, helped me understand what is our workplace about. And we also needed our own proprietary formula. So, Poise Formula is India's first research proprietary formula on executive presence for the Indian workplace and leadership. So, yes, it's been an interesting journey. And the second book, of course, is going to take you from the cubicle to the corner office.
Absolutely, and I can vouch for that because so many things that I learned, the smallest of the things that we talk about are things that we miss generally as a part of the routine, and those are the things that really matter. The journey between a cubicle to a corner office sometimes is quite long, right?
Yeah. Almost 2 decades, depends on the industry, but yes, could be anything from 15 years to 25 years.
True. And when we look at this journey, we have seen that a lot of women, particularly if they start well at the early stage of their career, somewhere along the way, this particular journey, there are very few women in these corner offices compared to what you see them looking at the floor or even up to the cubicles as you define them.
It's interesting when it comes to the hiring, we have got a lot of diversity in hiring. So we definitely hire a lot of women leaders. Okay, and then when it comes to mid-career, this is where the pipeline breaks. And I think this is somewhere that we need to rectify because clearly lack of flexibility in timings, the travel which is involved could also be the fact that women need to focus on their homes. By then you have children, you have aging in-laws, parents. So there are multiple hats that they are wearing, and at points, various points in time, it becomes very difficult. Also, young mothers then give it up because of the fact that either childcare is not available, good, trustworthy childcare is not available, accessible. There's, of course, pressures from the schools for children to perform, and women somehow end up absorbing a lot of that pressure, or lack of support from family members because of nuclear families. So, multiple reasons have contributed to that. And then again, at the senior level, we do have a few women leaders. And of course, the boards today have made it compulsory that you have to have a couple of women directors, depending on the size of the organization. So there are a lot of women who parachute at that level into the boards. But I think mid-career pipeline, definitely there is leakage, and that should be sorted out. Although having said that, our policies are progressive. We are trying to, our HR policies are in tune to a very great extent with many developed parts of the world in various aspects. But of course, lots more can be done and lot more support can be provided.
Sure. What would be your advice to the young aspirants who are just entering into the college right now, or who are at the early stage of career? What is it that they should be doing right now? How they should be planning their journey?
Managing your career as you enter the workplace or you're a young professional, I would say content is king. Okay, so please focus on what it is that you are planning to specialize in, or what is your current area of expertise, even if that is not your final destination. Secondly, there is no substitute for hard work. So that is the second thing. Thirdly, this is a wonderful time for you to build and grow your networks. So impress your bosses, your super bosses, build your allies. That's very important because the networks that you build in your 20s and 30s will bear fruit in your 40s and 50s. So that's very important. And when I interviewed a lot of leaders for my book, many of them said, especially the super successful professionals who have given their comments, that a lot of their networks were built in their 20s and 30s because they worked very hard, they impressed their bosses, their clients, their vendors, and they built a strong name for themselves. That's one. Secondly, I think it's important to to work with energy and enthusiasm. I think it's infectious. It increases your visibility. All of us want to work with youngsters who are, energetic, enthusiastic, committed. Also, I would say speak up, learn to formulate your thoughts, be analytical, contribute, and add value. Just speaking up to take up airtime is not good. On the other hand, if you have a meeting, plan beforehand. What are you going to say? What is the objective of this meeting? How will you contribute? What is your idea? And today, organizations also have become so much more collaborative. Leaders today are also open to hearing conversations from junior people in their department. That I think it's a great time for young people to add value and seriously contribute to the outcome. So, yes, build your networks, work hard, work on your content, do your homework before a meeting, and add value.
Great. Do you see a greater opportunity coming in for the mothers who now want to come back to the corporate career? There was always a challenge that if you take a break and how do you come back? And while the policy wise, the hiring back to the work kind of, there are various initiatives that are happening. Sometimes a lot of what I have observed is that a lot of these mothers find that to be a lot of internal struggle when they come back to the office, and compared to their own skill set, this internal struggle tends to consume a lot more of their energy and limit the prospects of their growth. Have you observed that, or do you feel there is a way to handle this?
You know, companies today have got a lot of policies which are women coming back to work, and they are very supportive. So it's like a second innings or a second career where you've taken a career break, and they're very supportive. So where many progressive Indian as well as multinational companies have programs where they would like to get talented, skilled, women leaders or future women leaders back to work. However, the challenges continue. So what do you do with childcare? Also, I think our media needs to play an important role. If you see advertisements today, women they show women going back to work using a ton of spices and making 16 dishes and serving it to their family. I think that's not possible. Also, a few progressive ads I have seen in the last 6 months, but generally the gender roles are too defined. So if you show a father, you show him in a particular way. But yes, I have seen a couple of progressive ads, and kudos to them. But yes, we need to show many more where fathers are contributing to the work, or they are contributing to homework, or they are running a household appliance besides just driving a car. So I think we need to, media also needs to contribute, and I think that's important. But yes, the challenges stay. The childcare, the schooling, safety of the child. So I think there are challenges, and yes, we'll have to find long-term solutions to them, or the solutions, I guess, will keep evolving and changing.
True. I think we need more Amits around who can set the examples for here by taking different calls on these lines.
Yeah.
True. Another thing I would like to understand is the poise formula that you spoke about when we talk about developing the leadership. So, what I have observed is that the number of seats that are available in those boardrooms are very limited, and there's only one corner office all the time around. So, the difference, what is it that people, when they come back, should be doing, and in the current situation, what are the different steps that they should be taking for them to uh, grow and follow that particular path to the corner office?
You're talking about women leaders?
Yes.
Okay. I would say if you just look at the POISE formula, each of the letters stand for something. So the P is your physical, the O is your online, the I is your influencer, the S is your stage, and the E is your engagement. So I would look at women leadership at various levels, because at each of these letters at various levels, and tell you what are the gaps that I have observed. um, Firstly, I feel that when it comes to physical presence, we need to have a strong elevator pitch. So I think every woman should have a 3 or 4 sentence strong elevator pitch where she focuses on the verbal as well as the non-verbal to create a strong impact. That means if people ask you, what do you do? You need to come back with a very rehearsed, maybe, answer, which explains your strengths and your what is it that you exactly do. Because fumbling at that stage takes away your confidence and saps, your impact. So that's important. Also, I think they need to focus on body language. That's important, on physical presence, because it's a very strong non-verbal communication tool. So body compressing gestures where you round your shoulders, where you look down, where you put your hands in your lap. No, 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 not at all. Have a nice posture, square your shoulders, take up volume of air, because the volume of air that you take up in the room is the volume of space that you will take up in people's minds once you leave the room. So it's very important to do that. So that's as far as physical. Online, I think, has been a great thing for women, because now sitting in the comforts of their home, in the last 18 months, you could speak to anybody from any part of the world. But having said that, I think it's important to curate your online presence. So whether it's your LinkedIn profile, or the comments that you share, or the photographs that you put up, just curate it, give it some thought, because based on what people see on the screen, they are going to use to form impressions. Online also is a strong virtual executive presence, because now we are all 2 by 2 tiles on somebody's screen. So, how do you create impact in that as well through your visual, your verbal, your vocal presence? So, that's the letter O. When it comes to I think it's important to understand that to inspire trust, you need to not live in self doubt. Self doubt could come from multiple reasons, could be cultural biases, could be gender stereotypes, could also be the imposter syndrome, which a lot of women suffer from because they feel they're just plain lucky to be in that position of power and don't give credit to their capability. But I think women own your success. You have worked very hard to get where you are and feel good about it. Another thing is that, we are bad at self promotion, which is a very important influencer skill. So, working with influencers or decision makers by actually talking about the wonderful work that you have done, women feel we'll get promoted because we have done great work. Men, on the other hand, are always in a self promotion mode. That's why women, if they feel, if let's say there's an internal job posting and they would like that, a promotion, they will apply only if they feel they're 100% ready or they are 100% meet all the requirements. Men, on the other hand, will take a chance even at 60%. So I think those are few aspects of influencer that are important. Another aspect is at times, if you, not all women, but at times if you get emotional, then you definitely need to work on your executive maturity because leadership is about giving a calibrated response. Also, having said that, it's not just women, but men as well. When it comes to stage presence, I would say work on your voice, a strong, powerful voice. Speak slowly, clearly, crisply, and loudly to create impact. Also, get rid of verbal garbage and tentative words. Verbal garbage like hum, and tentative words like maybe, I'm not sure, let me get back, because that impacts your presence. Finally, don't apologize. Women say, I'm sorry many more times than men do. So, unless you're really truly sorry and need to apologize, don't, out of awkwardness or embarrassment, start a sentence with, I'm sorry. So, that's stage presence. Finally, with the letter E, I would say engagement presence. Improve your visibility because visibility increases opportunity. So, whether it is internally, volunteer, work on intra-department projects, work on CSR initiatives, go for team drinks, network with people, attend the office party, multiple ways to step outside your comfort zone and your zone of water cooler friends. When it comes externally, I would say treat yourself as a brand ambassador of the organization. Take up every opportunity to represent your organization. Could be in a group discussion, could be as a panelist, could be as a speaker, even sometimes to present. Grab every opportunity, join a body, a governing body, or join, I would say, an industry body. So network because networking leads to more opportunities and that increases your visibility. So those are the aspects of the poise formula that I think women leaders can work on, and it'll the payback will be many times over.
Absolutely guaranteed payback on this formula. While we are talking about the leadership and the poise, there is something that you are also doing at the ground level in terms of catalyst. I've been fortunate to be part of this revolution that has happened. So, can you please throw some light on how Catalyst started? What was the thought process and where it starts today?
First of all, thank you for mentoring our Catalyst girls. We really appreciate it, and we need progressive, dynamic mentors like you. Catalyst started 14 years ago with the simple understanding thought process that opportunities for women in lower income are much less, and their chance to become leaders and bridge the gender gap is much less compared to women from better backgrounds because of the fact that one, your communication, your English language skills, your soft skills are so much better thanks to the academic system, better schooling, better college, as well as your mentoring is better because your parents become your mentors and guides and you dip into their networks. On the other hand, women in lower income strata do not have access to that. But that should not hold them back from maximizing their potential. So it started in 2007 with just 5 girls. Today we are in the 14th year of our program, and we have impacted 1,500 girls, all women in STEM, women engineers. And happy to share that currently we have over 600 in our program across four centers: Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, and Delhi. And we do two interventions. We have a 600-hour proprietary curriculum for women engineers from year one to year four, which runs parallelly with their college. And it is over Saturdays and Sundays, and a lot of it has moved online, which works on their 70% of it focuses on their soft skills and 30% on their technical skills. So, some softwares which will help them get better jobs or advanced level which can improve their career chances. Secondly, of course, we have corporate mentors very generously giving their time from the largest of multinational corporations to entrepreneurs, coaches, professionals who believe in women leadership. And from year one to year four, help the girls in communication, act as a mentor, coach, guide, also in internships, choosing the right opportunities, preparing for interviews, general knowledge. So, multiple interventions. And of course, our girls have done us proud. Sometimes I feel we have learned more from them than they have from us. And the Catalyst team is very dedicated. So, yes, it would not have been possible without the support of the team and the mentors. And of course, the trainers who have stuck to the curriculum defined. So, yes, it takes a lot of people to make anything success. And I think we saw that last year when Catalyst won 5 global awards, very prestigious awards on education and women in STEM and women empowerment, women leadership. So, yes, it's been a very satisfying journey.
Amazing. It has been an absolute privilege for me to interview somebody who has not only made the presence at the executive level, but who has started making the difference at the absolute ground level, provided opportunities for people who did not have it, and has made a real impact to the evolution of Indian industry and women leadership in the country. Thank you so much, Sheetal, for your time. It has been an absolute privilege having you here in this series. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.